We're going to look at Revelation, 2 chapters today. We're going to read them, 13 and 14. A few years ago, at a biblical exposition in Anaheim, California, it was reported that a man who weighed between 350 and 400 pounds was wearing a t-shirt that read, "I overcame anorexia." Some people are always looking for the victory. But the best victory of all is victory in Jesus. And that's the title of the message this morning, Victory in Jesus. You know, I like team sports. And there's a reason for it, and I like to watch them. Because I know that it doesn't matter who the best team is always. What matters is the last inning. What matters is the last few seconds. Whether or not a TD is going to be scored, or a field goal, or whether or not a puck is going to go zipping into the net, or whether a basket is just going to be made as the buzzer goes down. There's always that excitement of sports and the way that it ends. And we don't know the ending. But you know what? I like the Bible too, because it does tell me the ending. And it's the only thing that I really want to understand about the ending of it. I want sports to stay the way they are, but I want us to understand about Scripture and the way it is and how it tells us where the victory is. And the victory is in Jesus Christ. In real life, the victory of the most important game was determined 2,000 years ago in a garden in ancient Jerusalem when Jesus rose from the dead. Yet for the present, I think that sometimes that victory doesn't seem very close to us. It seems pretty far away. It seems that evil is so prevalent in our world. And sometimes it seems to be winning the war. And so we can read the back of the book here, and we can read Revelation. Because in Revelation there's something we find out. Evil may appear to be winning the war, but Christ has the victory. We have the victory in Jesus Christ. Let's read these 2 chapters. "And the dragon stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea. He had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on his horns, and on each head a blasphemous name. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear, and a mouth like that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was astonished and followed the beast. Men worshiped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast. And they also worshiped the beast, and they asked, 'Who is like the beast? Who can make war against him?' The beast is given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies, and to exercise his authority for 42 months. He opened his mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. He has given power to make war. He was given power to make war against the saints and to conquer them. And he was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, all whose names have not been written in the book of life belonging to the Lamb that was slain from the creation of the world. He who has an ear, let him hear. If anyone is to go into captivity he will go. If anyone is to be killed with the sword he will be killed. This calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of the saints. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. He had 2 horns like a lamb, but he spoke like a dragon. He exercised all the authority of the first beast on his behalf, and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose fatal wound had been healed. And he performed great and miraculous signs even causing fire to come down from heaven to earth in full view of men. Because of the signs he was given power to do on behalf of the first beast, he deceived the inhabitants of the earth. He ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast, who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. He was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that it would speak and cause all who refuse to worship the image to be killed. He also forced everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of his name. This calls for wisdom. If anyone has insight, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is man's number. His number is 666. Then I looked, and there before me was the Lamb, standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 who had his name and his Father's name written on their foreheads. And I heard a sound from heaven like a roar of rushing waters and like a loud peal of thunder. The sound I heard was like that of harpists playing their harps. And they sang a new song before the throne and before the four living creatures and the elders. No one could learn the song except the 144 who had been redeemed from the earth. These are those who did not defile themselves with women, for they kept themselves pure. They follow the Lamb wherever he goes. They were purchased from among men and offered as firstfruits to God and the Lamb. No lie was found in their mouths. They are blameless. Then I saw another angel flying in midair, and he had the eternal gospel to proclaim to those who live on the earth, to every nation, tribe, language, and people. He said in a loud voice, "Fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water." A second angel followed and said, "Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great, which made all of the nations drink the maddening wine of her adulteries." The third angel followed them and said in a loud voice, "If anyone worships the beast and his image and receives his mark on the forehead or on the hand, he too will drink of the wine of God's fury, which has been poured full strength into the cup of his wrath. He will be tormented with burning sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment rises forever and ever. There is no rest, day or night, for those who worship the beast and his image, or for anyone who receives the mark of his name." This calls for patient endurance on the part of the saints who obey God's commands and remain faithful to Jesus. Then I heard a voice from heaven say, "Right blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on." "Yes," says the Spirit, "they will rest from their labor, for their deeds will follow them." I looked, and there before me was a white cloud, and seated on the cloud was one like a son of man, with a crown of gold on his head and a sharp sickle in his hand. Then another angel came out of the temple and called in a loud voice to him who was sitting on the cloud, "Take your sickle and reap, because the time to reap has come, for the harvest of the earth is ripe." So he was seated on the cloud. So he who was seated on the cloud swung his sickle over the earth, and the earth was harvested. Another angel came out of the temple in heaven, and he too had a sharp sickle. Still another angel who had charge of the fire came from the altar and called in a loud voice to him who had the sharp sickle, "Take your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of grapes from the earth's vine, because its grapes are ripe. The angel swung his sickle on the earth, gathered its grapes, and threw them into the great winepress of God's wrath. They were trampled in the winepress outside the city, and blood flowed out of the press, rising as high as the horses' bridles, for a distance of 1,600 stadia. In our text, we have a dragon, we have two beasts, and a lamb. And from the previous chapters and from this context, it's clear about one thing. Who is the dragon? The dragon is Satan, the tempter, the liar. He's also known as Abaddon. He's also known as Apollyon, which means both of those, the destroyer. It is Satan who gives power to the beasts. Now, about these two beasts, they're basically the same beast as described in Revelation chapter 17 and verse 9, which says that the beast is the city that sits on the 7 hills. Rome, which is also figuratively called Babylon. And it actually refers to the earthly or worldly powers that are opposed to Christ and His church. Any of them. So it takes into accord all of those. Now, when John wrote the Apocalypse, that's another word for Revelation, Rome was the world capital of paganism. Rome ruled the world with an iron glove. And it persecuted the church on and off, on and off, on and off. And it tried to destroy the church. And so no wonder John paints her as a vicious beast. A beast who tries to destroy the work of God. Now I want to look first at this first beast. And this is the beast who persecutes the church. The beast who persecutes the church. This beast is a fearful, hideous creature. And he exercised power over all the earth and over humanity. It is a proud beast with 7 heads. And guess what's on each head? A blasphemous name. And the mouth of the beast utters blasphemy, blasphemous words continuously. The beast is simply opposed to everything that is godly. And it seeks to defame God and anything that is godly with blasphemous words. Listen, the beast opens up his mouth and it sounds like an R-rated movie. The worst of the R-rated movies. The language of them. Because it is language that is opposed to God. It is language that defames God. It plays light on the name of God and the person of God and Jesus Christ. And that's what it does. And not only this, the R-rated movies in there, they're an attraction to fallen man. Fallen man loves it. Plain and simple. They do. And has a tendency to follow it. Fallen humanity also takes pride in the beast, and it is power. So it follows the beast and worships the beast. And the dragon who gave the beast the power, it worships him. And John says the extent of its blasphemy included not only God, but also the slander of his name, also the slander of his dwelling, and also all of those who live in heaven. To make things worse, the people took pride in their beast, and they say, hey, who Who is like the beast? Our beast is number one. Nobody can beat our beast. Nobody. And verse 10 tells us that it is only through patient endurance and faithfulness that we escape captivity of that beast. That's what it calls for, and that's what it takes from God's people. Patient endurance and faithfulness. That's not just meant to assure us and to comfort those Christians of that day, but it's for all Christians of all generations, because the same thing goes on over and over and over again. And if you read the book of Revelation, you're going to pick up on it eventually, and especially those that have been studying it at all, you pick up on the very fact that the same motif, the same story is told over and over again in different ways, but it all comes out to the same thing. What? We have the world and Satan attacking the church, often seeming to be in charge, at the door of defeating the church. And then we always find the last inning, the last second. And who's there? It's Jesus, our Redeemer, who saves us from the beasts, all of the beasts who persecute us. It saves us. Now, we realize that one thing, that Jesus Christ is coming. And He is coming to judge and reward. Which side are you going to be on? What about you? What are you following? You following the beast? The ways of the world? Or are you following Christ? That's the question for every generation of people. Every person sitting in here, no matter how young or how old we are, that's a question that we have to ask and answer. Christians down through the ages, listen, have had to live under despots. That is, these cruel, wicked leaders sometimes. And some of them weren't always cruel and wicked, but just mean. Men who persecuted the church. The church was persecuted under the fascist regimes of 1930s and the 1940s. And the church was persecuted under the communist regime since then, and still in China and several other countries. The church today is being persecuted by the atheists, by some of the Muslim countries, and by evil and wicked people who war against God all the time. And here in our own country, the Christians lost the cultural wars on the physical planes. And that really only applies to how Christianity has lost its influence over the morals and ethics of non-Christians. Because Christianity should never lose its influence of morals and ethics over Christians. Because if it does, we're not Christians anymore. We're not. And so it stays there. And of course the media comes in and joins on the bandwagon with the non-Christians and the atheists. All of the persecution in the world doesn't affect those who through patient endurance remain faithful. It may inconvenience us in doing a lot of things, but it'll never destroy us. It may destroy our bodies, but it will never destroy our spirits. It'll never destroy the inner part of us, what really counts, because it can't. In my life, it's always been the hard times that shake me, but they shake me and draw me closer to God. They make me realize that all I need to do is to trust in Jesus Christ. And I can trust Him better than I can trust myself. And I hope that all of you realize that. You can trust Him better than you can trust yourself. John is encouraging us to realize that the beast persecutes, but it can't destroy us spiritually. Physical death may come, but not spiritual death. Not only is there the beast of persecution that rises from the sea, there is the beast who demands worship and comes out of the earth. This is another beast. And when I read about these two beasts, I'm always reminded of that story of Paul Revere. In the chapel, they were to hang the lantern, and one if by land and two if by sea. Well, the only thing is, these beasts take an unfair advantage because they come from the land and the sea. And they try to destroy us. They try to destroy us. The only thing is that we realize he demands worship. The beast. The second beast. And he puts up an image. He makes an image of the first beast. And why does he make an image of the first beast? To get people to worship it. And he wants people to also worship the dragon who gave the power to the first beast and the power that gave the power to the second beast, along with the first beast who gave power to the second beast. So the second beast has really got a lot of power. And if you don't think so, look what it says in here. The second beast has the power to perform miracles. It doesn't say pseudo-miracles and false miracles and pretend miracles like we sometimes see in stages when we turn on the television sets and we see somebody walking around and saying, "Be healed," and getting bopped in the head. It's not about that. It says that, hey, he even did great miracles like bringing fire down from heaven in the presence of everyone. We don't know. That's not occurred that we've ever known. So maybe it's going to occur just before the coming of Jesus Christ in the future. That's all we can think about in that. But we have to understand, this beast has that kind of power. And it calls for patient endurance and faithfulness. That's what we need. That's what we need. Now, the second beast is a deceptive beast. Why? Because it looks like a lamb and sounds like a dragon. To me, it's always that picture of the true Antichrist. One who by outward appearance seems to be like Jesus. And he may do great things like Jesus. But notice what it says. You hang around him very long and you realize who he talks like. He talks like the dragon. So he's deceptive. He tries to fool us. Now, this beast forced people to worship the first beast and the dragon, as we mentioned. And he performed the miracles. And this beast made the people build that big image, and he made them bow down and worship them. If they didn't worship the image, they died. Now we know that happened in times in the Roman Empire, that Christians were led and forced to either bow down to images and idols and Caesars, or to be put to death by the sword. And they were. And probably more of them were put to get death on a cross than by a sword. The cruel way of death. So, it appears that all mankind worshipped the image of the beast. And everyone else also had to receive the mark of the beast on your hand or on your forehead. Why? So that you could buy and sell. Now, I know that there's a lot of good preachers, and they have come up with the fact that they used to think that UPC symbol was the mark of the beast. I don't think so, but anyway, it's a good example of it. Here we have the mark of the beast. If you don't have it, you can't buy and sell. And it's contrasted. This name also. It says calculate the name of the beast, and it's the name of what? It's the name of a man. Just a man. No deity, just a man. And he's contrasted with the name of Jesus on the forehead of the followers of God. The followers of God have Jesus and God written on their foreheads. These guys have a mark of a beast on their foreheads or their hands. And the second beast makes things real bad. And when that second one is fully there, guess what happens? Do you remember the John Wayne Westerns? Do you remember the John Payne Westerns? Do you remember a lot of those old Westerns? And guess who? Guess what happens in the end? When here it seems that everything is lost. Here comes the cavalry! And they save the day. Listen, right at this moment, here comes Jesus. And what does he come for? He comes to redeem. He's already redeemed 144,000, which is a figurative number, not a literal number. And there's a couple of things in there I didn't even get into because it's confusing even to me and a few other people I know, so we'll just let that go. But we need to realize what it's all about. It's all about the beast of persecution. It's about the beast who demands worship. And when we look in today's society and world, isn't that what fame and fortune and power and other such things demand? They want us to worship it. They want us to desire it more than we desire Christ or life. How many people are sucked in to those desires? We have to be careful. We have to be careful. Now, these beasts stole the worship that belongs to God alone. And so what happens then? Chapter 14 comes along. Here comes the cavalry. It's Jesus and 144,000 men with him who indeed are pure and holy. And they sing a new song. And it's probably the same new song that they sang in Revelation chapter 5, verse 9. Very same song. And what's the song about? The song's about the worthiness of Jesus Christ. These men are some of those who are redeemed by the blood. And they are constantly with Jesus. And then the next thing we see here, there are three angels. And the first angel comes and he proclaims the gospel as such. He says, "Fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water." And the second angel proclaimed, "The fall of Babylon. Babylon, Babylon has fallen." Which simply means all earthly systems of government are fallen. They're done.